Hi everybody, this is just some guy and I figured it was about time I get to this. My review of the best superhero comic out right now. What do you think it is? Mr. Miracle? Batman? Super Sons? Nope. Boku no Hero Academia desu yo. Ikuso? Oh boy, do I love this series. Boku no Hero Academia, or My Hero Academia, is a superhero comic you've prayed for. For the manga and anime fans out there who haven't read it, basically, it's what you would get if you let Masashi Kishimoto of Naruto fame write X-Men. For the American comic fans, it's what would happen if the X-Men were cool again. I know, it hurts, but it's true. They haven't been cool since Grant Morrison wrote the book. I know it hurts. So this isn't going to be a full review of the entire series because it's way too long for that. There's 10 volumes out in the States and 16 in Japan. It'd get really confusing to go through all of that, and I really want this to be a video to get people on the fence about the series and manga in general to check it out. So this will be a review of the first volume with a little mentions of extras just to help explain the story. My Hero Academia was created by Horikoshi Kohei. The story follows Midoriya Izuku is his first name, usually called Deku. It's a play on the spelling of his name, Izuku, which could also be read as Deku, which means one who can't do anything. He lives in a world where 80% of the population has powers called quirks. Midoriya happens to be one of those 20% with no quirk. That's a problem because all he wants to do is be a superhero. See, because of all the powers, there's a rise in crime. Obviously, people will use their powers to break the law, and with this crime wave comes a realization of many a person's dream, to be a costumed hero. So people start dressing up and fighting crime, and eventually laws are made to regulate how these heroes work, including creating schools to train kids to become licensed heroes. This implies that there are unlicensed heroes, which is actually covered in one of the spin-offs from the series. The greatest of all the heroes is All Might, their version of Superman. He's basically like the classic Superman, the one who couldn't fly, didn't have the eye beams or anything like that, just super speed. So pretty much think the Wonder Woman from the movie, but way more powerful than that. He's drawn in a highly stylized way that kind of mimics the Silver Age from American comics. He's the only character drawn like that, and it's actually kind of a little bit of a play in the comic because even people in the comic notice the difference in the way that he looks. Midoriya idolizes All Might and wants to be a hero just like him, but with no powers, our boy has a problem. This is where the story starts. I just want to set that up because that's exactly the kind of origin that draws an audience in, especially kids. Here's a boy with an impossible dream, and he wants it even though he knows deep down he'll probably never get it, but he keeps striving for it anyway. Think about all the recent American heroes we've seen. Can you name one, just one, with that kind of motivation? There's a purity in Midoriya's character, an innocence that makes him endearing. We all understand what it's like to want something so bad it consumes you. That's who he is. He's basically one of us desperately wanting to be something greater, and for the right reasons. He just wants to save people and make them feel the way that he felt when he first saw All Might in action. That's what we've been missing in American comics for years. But this book delivers it perfectly. So let's get into it. Let's start with the art. I love Horikoshi's art. He's got an interesting style. It's a little chunky. His characters have some body to them. He can and does draw skinny characters, but usually they've got some meat on their bones. He's got some of the best expressions I've ever seen. His range is so amazing, especially with like shocked and angry faces. I really love how he draws teeth. I know it's a weird thing to focus on, but he's so good at it. You can actually piece together the anatomy of the teeth from his drawings. He also gives a great range with body types. This is very common in Japanese comics. Horikoshi's designs are a little different because certain characters are drawn way different than anyone else, yet it still works. The only thing I can compare it to is Kingdom Hearts. If you've never played the game, basically imagine anime characters next to Disney characters. It shouldn't work, but it does. My Hero Academia is the same thing. All Might's hero and normal forms are wildly different than anything in a book, but they still feel like they belong in that world. Other characters have similar wild designs. Horikoshi also likes to show off his draftsmanship sometimes, so you get these pages with beautifully rendered detail that's totally different from the rest of the book. It's done for shock value, and it works. He also draws some of the best hands you will ever see. He even makes a note about this in one of the volumes. He just likes drawing hands, which is the polar opposite of almost every artist I know. But it's a testament to his skill and talent because hands are one of the hardest things to draw, and he's really good at it. When it comes to pages, the paneling is top notch. Anyone who's watched my videos knows it's really important to me. It can make or break a book. This dude is like the Yasin Bey, most deaf for all y'all who ain't keeping up, of paneling. It just flows. You can follow what happens just by looking, even down to the emotional beats. And let's talk about that because Horikoshi outdoes Kishimoto on this. I know. You fans of Naruto, I know. First chapter of Naruto was brilliant. Horikoshi took that Naruto crying scene and turned it up to 11. Totally outdid Kishimoto, and with such a powerful moment. I'm gonna get to it, don't worry. Back to the paneling. Horikoshi has dynamic, fluid posing. His stuff looks like keyframes from animation or from storyboards. Very well posed. Exactly what you need to see to move the story and to draw readers in. You can give this book to a 5-year-old and they can probably follow it. I wouldn't give the book to someone that young just because the plot is very thick and Horikoshi does have a little bit of Claremont-itis. Someone older though, 8 or 10, perfect age. If they can follow The Incredibles, they can follow this book. Now, for those who don't like Japanese art styles, give the book a chance. You don't have to love the art, put a ring on it, and take it to bed. You just need to look at it. Try to see past the big eyes and spiky hair. Given what you've looked at in American books lately, that really shouldn't be that hard. At the very least, Horikoshi draws girls like girls. If that's not gonna woo you in, let's see what happens with the story because oh my god is it good. Like I said at the beginning, the world is mostly superpowered. Midoriya, or Deku for short, doesn't have any powers. One of his classmates bullies him for this. Bakugo Katsuki, usually called Kachan by Midoriya, has fire powers. He sweats nitroglycerin from his palms, and he has a personality to match. The boy is so violent that the League of Villains actually tries to recruit him later in the series, and they're surprised to find that Bakugo sees himself as a hero. This is after he tries and almost succeeds in murdering Midoriya. Why? Because one time when they were little kids, Deku tried to help him, and in that moment, Bakugo thought Deku was looking down on him. He relentlessly bullies Midoriya just for this, usually to tears. It's an interesting play on the character because he's damn near unlikable, and Horikoshi leaves him so unhinged for most of the series. Bakugo really doesn't get humbled until around volume 11. So when the story starts, we see Midoriya watching this battle happen between a purse snatcher and professional heroes, usually called pros. The pros catch this guy, and we get the scene with Deku in school the next day with everybody talking about the crime. The kids are all getting ready to decide what high school they'll go to, and all of them want to go to pro schools to become professional heroes, including Midoriya. The problem is, Deku is born without a quirk. Quirks usually manifest when kids are toddlers, and the sign that a kid would have one of these is that they have an extra joint on their pinky toe. Midoriya doesn't have that, meaning he'll never develop any powers. So Bakugo bullies him in front of the class, burning Deku's notebook about superheroes, and telling him not to dare to apply to UA High School, the premier training school. And just to show how much of a jerk Bakugo is, he says to Midoriya, if you want to be a hero so bad, I've got an idea. If you think you'd be a hero in your next life, go jump off the roof. What a cruel thing to say. It just shows how low Bakugo is. And then we get this great moment after that kind of is played for laughs, the art, but with the dialogue is so serious. We see how Midoriya finds out that he'll never get a quirk. His mother cries and apologizes to her son for not being able to be a hero. And Deku says in the captions, no, mom. Back then, what I wanted you to say was, and you already know what he wanted her to say. That moment adds so much to the character. We understand just how much this means to him and how badly he wants it. When he leaves school, he gets attacked by this new villain, a guy who can turn into ooze. He gobbles up Deku, and who comes to the rescue? The great All Might. He uses his Texas Smash technique to free Deku and captures the villain in an empty bottle. By the way, all of All Might's special moves are references to American cities or states, and they're all in English in the Japanese comic, so it's actually a running gag throughout the book. All Might tries to leave, but Midoriya latches onto him so he can ask one more question, the only question that matters to him. Can someone without a quirk become a hero? But before All Might can answer, he changes into his normal form. This is a common trope in manga where the hero transforms, but Horikoshi plays with it by showing that All Might's withered form is a result of an injury. As a result of that damage, he can't keep up his All Might form for long. I just love that. It's done mostly for the story, as we'll see in a moment, but it adds so much to All Might's character because it shows that he's putting himself at risk every time he uses his power, but he still does it because helping people is the right thing to do. He's not sitting there taking selfies or self-validating or humble bragging. He's acting like a hero, which includes telling the truth. And that's what he does to poor Midoriya. He tells the boy flat out that without power, he can't become a hero. He could be a cop or a villain custody officer, but never a hero. He says to him, it's not wrong to dream, however, you need to be a realistic kid. That's just crushing. I mentioned in my art influences video how powerful that Rock Lee and Gaara fight was in Naruto because Rock Lee loses the fight and him using forbidden techniques cost him his chance to be a ninja. He wrecks his own body and as a result wrecks his own chance at achieving his dream. What happens in My Hero Academia is much worse and much more powerful. Imagine the person you look up to the most, the person whose opinion means everything to you, telling you you can never be like them. Your face will look a lot worse than this. I love this moment because it grounds the character. It's a reality that many people face. They will never reach their dreams, never have the chance to do it. It hurts, and it would hurt even more if the person you admired put you in your place. But it's so important for heroes to have these moments. We already know that somehow, some way, Midoriya gets into UA and becomes a hero. We wouldn't have a comic if he didn't. But first he has to struggle. First he has to earn it. And that's what I love about this book. Midoriya earns his power by proving himself worthy of it. What do I mean? You remember that bottled villain I mentioned before? Well, when Deku grabbed onto All Might, the bottle fell out of All Might's pocket and the villain got out and attacked Bakugo. Now, the little firebrand doesn't give up easily, so Mr. Goo has to fight to take over his body. There are pro-heroes there, but they're not able to help. Deku sees this as he's walking down the street after his conversation with All Might and realizes that he's caused the villain to get free. Then he spots who the villain is attacking. He sees it's Bakugo, and without a moment's hesitation, he runs to save him. Look at that. Beautiful art. Beautiful. But even better moment. This boy runs to save his bully. He runs to save someone who just told him to kill himself. And why? Because, as he says to Bakugo, you look like you needed saving. That's a hero. That's what heroism is about. That's what we're missing from American comics. This boy is willing to give his life for someone who hates him, and he does it without even thinking about it. His legs just move. Of course, Midoriya doesn't have any powers, so it doesn't work. He gets sucked into the villain too. It does, however, give All Might time to jump in and say what every SJW writer needs to hear. A hero should always be ready to risk his life. That is what being a hero is all about. Self-sacrifice. And by the way, Mark Waid, that's how you write that sentiment that you were trying to express in that first Captain America comic. So All Might hits the villain with his Detroit Smash technique, a move so powerful it literally makes it rain. At this point, I'm already in love with the story and with the characters and the book. The end of the first chapter, though, seals it for me. All Might catches up to Midoriya. The boy tries to apologize, but All Might cuts him off. He says to Deku that of all the people at the scene, it was only you, timid and quirkless, who acted. He says that many heroes show signs of greatness even as kids. They say their bodies simply moved before they could think. And Midoriya thinks to himself, for some reason, I remember what my mom said. I'm sorry, Izuku. I'm sorry. No, Mom. Back then, what I wanted you to say was, and then All Might chimes in with the words, you can be a hero. I mean, Jesus is gonna make me cry. That's the moment. That's the key to the book, this story, and to any great superhero story. It's not about the name. It's not about the mantle. It's not about the costume. It's about the mind of the person wearing the costume. It's about what they represent. Anybody can identify with Izuku Midoriya. You don't have to be a 14-year-old Japanese boy. His desire and willingness to do the right thing, even as his dream is taken from him, shows his quality of character. How do you not love a character like this? And the next chapter is exactly what every SJW character never experienced. A period of them earning their mantle and power. All Might reveals the truth about his quirk. It was passed on to him. His power, known as All for One, is passed from bearer to bearer, keeping small elements of each previous user with it. It manifests in different ways with different people. For All Might, it changes his appearance, making him look like a muscle man. With Midoriya, electricity ripples around his body. All Might offers this power to Midoriya, who accepts, and then has to undergo 10 months of intensive training because his scrawny body would rip apart if he tries to use it. The whole chapter is just a montage showing Deku working hard, even overworking himself, in order to prepare for the power. All Might has him clear off this beach, and just before the UA entrance exams, Deku has it sparkling. And this was another moment that I just loved because All Might nails it with another important point about heroes. And I dare you to hear this line and not immediately think of all the diversity replacements that you've seen in recent years. Deku cries and thanks All Might for all the help. All Might tells him that he needs to stop crying all the time, but adds this. You know, they say there's a difference between being born with that silver spoon and working your butt off to earn it. Take this to heart, kid. You've earned this power, fair and square. Can you name a single diversity character who's earned their power or their mantle? Anyone who in context to the story had to work for anyone's approval or support. Anyone who faced a lick of adversity, dislike, a hard time. Nope. Every one of them was just given their power and their mantles and pushed out to the top as if everyone should like them just because. Not with this book. Not with this character. Midoriya earns our love and our support and continues to do it throughout the rest of the volume. His next challenge is the entrance exam, where all the students have to fight 4 types of robot villains. Each defeated villain earns a point except for the huge battle bot. It has 0 points and it's really just a distraction. The exam starts and Deku is at a loss because he really doesn't know how to use All for One. See, when All Might gave Deku his power, first the boy had to eat one of All Might's hairs. He needed to get the boy the DNA and the hair was just the fastest way to do it. But All Might didn't have time to really teach Deku how to use the power. So when the practical portion of the entrance exam starts, Deku does what most kids would do. He freaks out. He's too scared to fight, even though he realizes that without any points he won't get into the school. Everyone else soars through this thing, time is running out when the huge battle bot appears. Deku knows he can't fight it. He fears that this has all been for nothing. He tries to run, but then he hears a cry of pain. He sees this girl that he met when he first came to school. He actually almost tripped. She has the ability to control gravity and she stops him from falling on his face. So when he sees her, he thinks back to that moment. She's trapped under this rubble. Here comes the battle bot. Without a thought, he crouches down, balls his fist up, and just like All Might says, clenches his butt and lets his heart cry out and punches the bejesus out of the battle bot. He saves the girl, but wrecks his arm and leg in the process. He's trying to figure out how to save himself as he falls to the ground, but the girl slaps him. Now, I know it seems like it's mean, but again, her power works by her touching things. She can control gravity if she touches the object. Her slap stops Deku from falling, and she can release him safely to the ground. Even then, all Deku can think about is getting 1 point, just 1 point, but it's too late. Time's up. He gets healed by this old hero named Recovery Girl, which is just hilarious because she looks like Yoda, but still calls herself Girl. That's a nice play on some tropes within superhero comics. Power Girl is a grown woman, Batgirl is a grown woman, that kind of thing. So Midoriya goes home, he's waiting for the letter to come in to see if he got accepted. Eventually it arrives, and his mom gets it. And I just love that she's gotten chubby over the years. It's a subtle thing, and is really silly for me to notice, but I just find it cute. So Deku opens the letter, and this hologram of All Might pops out and explains that even if someone passes the written exam, getting 0 points on a practical exam obviously results in failure. Deku starts to browbeat himself, but All Might chimes in. He tells the boy that Ochako came to the teachers after the exam and offered some of her points because Deku saved her life. They tell her that they can't do that, but it doesn't matter because there are rescue points. As All Might explains, a hero course that rejects those who do the right thing is no hero course at all. Deku gets 60 points, which is enough for him to pass. He gets into UA. I mean, we knew it would happen, but damn if it doesn't feel good. And you know why? And I don't mean to sound a little bit like the childlike empress, but seriously, it feels good because we went on the journey with Midoriya. We suffered as he suffered. We won as he won. We see his struggles and the price he pays, and we root for him to win. We want him to win, and we feel good when he does, even though we already knew that would happen. That's damn good storytelling, and that's why you need to read My Hero Academia, because it only gets better. Go buy this book. I promise you, it's worth all $10. You can probably find it cheaper online. Otherwise, pick it up from your comic book store or regular bookstore. You need this book in your life.